R has a data structure for categorical data known as factor. A factor is very much like a vector, except that it defines two attributes: the class attribute, which has a value of factor, and the levels attribute, which defines the values that can become elements of the factor. You may think of a factor as some kind of a vector whose element can take on one of predefined levels. You can create a factor if you pass a vector to the factor function. In this example, this vector have been passed as argument to the factor function. The data structure or object is assigned to the variable gender. If I hit enter on the keyboard, R will create a factor variable gender such that the levels of the factor will be the unique values of these vector, that is male and female. I'll call the attributes function on gender to display the attributes of the factor variable. The factor variable gender has two attributes: levels and class. Class have the value factor and levels have the values female and male. The elements of this factor variable gender can only assume the value female or male. Let's print gender to find out its content. Any attempt to assign to an element of a factor variable a value that is not in the levels attribute of the factor variable will generate a warning resulting in NA. NA means not available. For example, if I attempt to assign this string to the element at index 3 of the factor variable gender, a warning message have been generated. If I print gender again, the element at index 3 now have the value NA, which means not available. This is because this string is not a level of the variable gender. When you create a variable, you can specify the levels of the variable. This factor size defines 3 levels: A, AA, and AAA. There are only 2 elements in the factor. I'll print the factor size. One thing you may want to do is to obtain a count of each level of the factor variable. To do so, you will have to call the table function on the factor. For example, for the original gender factor, let's call the table function on gender. There are 3 male and 3 female. Let's also call the table function on size. there is 1A, 1 double A, and 0 triple A.